we good? I think we're on. I think we're on. Hello. 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 Okay, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. I think we are ready. Okay. Hey, we're just 1 minute early. So, what are we doing? Let's get things ready. Yeah. Okay. I think we are ready to go. Let's see, we got all of our things. We got our... So... Woo! Let's rearrange some of this stuff. We got it. Okay, so... Hello again. Stellar people, this is Trey Hodges. And today's ArtStream, Artcast. I'm not exactly sure what. Number 13. Ooh, spooky. ArtStream number 13. Number 13. And we are continuing with the process of making comics in Clip Studio Paint, which is my de facto comic making program of choice. So first, I guess I should say what I do on this channel. On this channel, I like to demonstrate how I make art, or the process of making art, because art is a process. I am a very iterative artist. I'm not just going to show you the end point and go, ta-da! I like to show how things get made. That is the point of this channel. How does art, whether it's comics, illustration, whatever it is that I'm doing artistically, I want to show the process of that. How do you go from nothing to something? Hopefully it would be a finished something. That is what we do on this channel. So today we are continuing with part 3 of comic making process, or my comic making process. The first 15, usually the first 15 minutes of my streams, I like to go over any information that needs to be said for the future, or like a continuing saga. So the continuing saga of this is we have started Beautiful Beast Chapter 4, Under the Sea, and my whole process usually starts in the same manner. Usually with this 1-page, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, I break it up into 12-page increments. I start with just listing the characters that'll be in the comic, little words, or a brief, just written words of what could happen in the comic. Then I make little doodles that can happen, images that automatically pop into mind about what can happen in the comic. Then I make this little tiny thumb page turn, just a little idea of how the pages would turn. Odd pages are on the right hand side. The left hand side is even pages. And so I like to have a visual of that so that I know, okay, page 3, there's going to be a page turn. Can I make something in the bottom right hand corner that would make an audience member want to turn the page to find out what happens next, right? This is art in sequence, going from left to right. In the East, they go from right to left. So then after I make these little page ideas, I do that again a little bit larger. And I do this in pen, right? I don't want to erase at this point. I'm just thinking of just moving forward with my ideas. Just move forward. And always, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to look like something, right? You can't work, well, I can't work from nothing. So I like to get an ideas, anything that can help me to move forward. And so I do that 1 through page 12. And then on the second page, this is another 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I do the exact same thing for pages 13 through 24. I've also added a page 25, but for reasons in making this sequential comic thing, because every chapter builds on each other. And we are now at chapter 4. Again, title, what is the chapter? What is the idea, title of the chapter of the second half? Characters in it, the story written just in words, the story broken down into these little tiny thumbnails, super, super tiny, right? And they don't really have to be anything in depth or super cool, right? You just want your ideas. It can be just a stick figure standing in a pose that you like. And then I break that down into, again, the page ideas, 13 through 24 or 25 in this case. I do that again, just a little bit larger. Right? So I'm building, even at this stage, I'm building upon what what can help me go from very simple to more complex. We're always moving from simple to more complex. And that is what I do for just this, what I call an idea brief. This is the story in brief. So let's talk about the characters. The characters, the title of it is Beautiful Beast Kiss is the character. And that character, she is this character. And this is what the proper title that I've made up in Illustrator. Beautiful Beast Kiss is the title. It's also the name of the character. This is Beautiful Beast Kiss. And the idea behind it is that she has on her left wrist this allspark crystal, or a little gem called the cat's eye. And this helps her jump through dimensions. Right? So in every dimension that she jumps to, her figure, her visual imprint changes in each dimension she hops to. So for example, this would be a version of her in one dimension. In another dimension. So it can be from simple. I try to move from, again, simple to more complex as she goes to higher chapters. So we started with more, I guess we'd call it super deformed, chibi, say Nickelodeon, or simplified, more graphic style of her look. And as she moves up through the comic chapters, she gets more and more defined, more and more adult looking. So super graphic-y. These other characters around her are her friends. She calls them friends, but some of them want nothing to do with her. This little red thing over on the upper right is Starbot. He was in the first chapter. She stole his gem. In chapter 2 or 3, I think it was, yeah, chapter 2, she meets Moktun, who is this little mythic young creature, half turtle bull with a little flaming tail. She shared, or made him share, his Allspark gem. This is DC Demon Cat, and he works for the Moon Princess, who shepherds the dead, or the honorable dead, onto their next phase of existence. And so in chapter 3, she, well, followed him from chapter 2 into chapter 3 where she was looking for him. And he is rather aloof, a magical twin-tailed demon cat. We just call him DC. And now we're in she's moving from chapter 3 to chapter 4. But this is an example of her dimension hopping visual change. And currently I have no idea what she looks like for chapter 4. I have some clue, right? I think, well, let me see. Okay, so in well, let's show another one. In chapter 3, she looked like this, right? Chibi-ish. And chapter 4, she looked like this. And also this one. So she looks youngish, but not as chibi as before. So we're trying to keep it moving forward. So she's gonna maybe be a little bit taller, maybe look slightly a bit older, maybe a year or two older than this. And again, Demon Cat, maybe an altered look because he's also in chapter 4, along with Moktun is also, who is this little turtle bull thing. So yeah, I haven't exactly thought about exactly what she looks like, but maybe somewhere just a little bit older than this, maybe. And it always helps to have a clearer idea of what your characters look like before you go into making your comics. But I usually do some of these things out of order and kind of all at the same time. So we'll work on that. But let's talk about the comic itself. So I use Clip Studio Paint. Clip Studio Paint, I used to use Photoshop, but I just like some of the tools that make it more flexible. I don't have to do as much tinkering in Clip Studio Paint as with Photoshop, but Photoshop, Procreate, whatever program you use that you feel most comfortable with, you can probably make comics, which is great. And let's talk about my pages. So I have 1 through 24 pages already laid out, but I usually break it up into 5-page increments so it doesn't slow down my computer too much, because when you have all the layers and layers within layers and files within folders and colored and super large things, it can sometimes slow things down. So I try to keep it between 3 to 5 individual pages that I work on at the same time. I like to know what is happening on one page and how does that continue on the next page. And so usually 3 is my minimum. And let's break down how this is page 1 and how this works. My early holder has the thumbnail version, which is just the drawings. It's super simple drawings. I'm not going for, I don't have, the backgrounds don't have perspective lines and all that really. The character is just a step above stick figure. And if I can get it done or my idea across with the stick figure, I will do that. Right? At this point, anything goes. But I always start with the Clip Studio Paint. This is what you usually get as the page in comics. Right? And then I bring in, or I import file, import image. Again, that's file, import image, and I bring in a comic template page. This is a Strathmore, and that I've scanned in, and then I save it either as a JPEG or a TIFF or a PNG, and I bring that in, and I always like to have this just above what Clip Studio Paint gives you, because I always want to know what the standard is for like the big studios like DC, Marvel, Image Comics, also like everywhere around the world. This would be your basic template. So I always like to have this in here, so just in case you want to get this as close to I guess an industry standard, so that you know what's being talked about if you do say get work from one of the big three or whoever else wants to have you do some work for them. So this is what the industry standard would be. Let me take off the view, crop marks and default folders. I'll take that off so that you can see just, right, this is what I bring in. It's got the blue lines. The blue lines on the page are non-photo blue, right? And it has all the markings, right? The name, date, book, issue, page number, has information text on here. All bleed art must extend to the solid line, print at 67%. This is the 11 by 17 size sheet of paper. Keep all lettering inside the live area, and it has marks for the live area, the trim area. The trim is where it could be cut in the process of when it's printed. They're going to cut it to size, and you try to keep like text and very useful information within certain areas so it doesn't get accidentally trimmed. Right? The process is cleaner now that we have so much technology, but back in the olden days, right, there was always that fear that things could be cut. There's a bleed area, there's dotted lines, so that we know where the live area is to keep stuff within. But this is your basics. All right. Instructions for double page spreads, cut on trim marks, but page edges, tape on the back side, do not overlap. So it gives you some ideas on how this is used. And so that's what I like about having what I call a template comic page. And I bring that in just so I know what's what, where's where, and an industry standard. Let's bring back file, crop marks and default borders. Okay, so that is all within this early holder folder. I make a lot of folders that have stuff in it. If I have from the 2-page, excuse me, madam. From the 2-page, I break up every single one of these little pages or page ideas and put them in a folder. And then I import these in so that page 1 goes into page 1. And then I adjust it. And then I draw a thumbnail on top. So I'm using this little thumbnail as an idea about what I want in there, and I draw it better. Not significantly better, but a little better. And then on top of this early holder, which has all that information, I have a blank layer, and then I make 2 folders above that blank layer. And one is for text, and let's turn on this text layer. And on top above that is frames/panels. And so I make the little frames frames and panels. That's what this is. All right, and I adjust it to make it look neater. And I have the text inside there. So I'm trying to replicate what the final image will look like. I try to get it, even at this stage, I try to get it closer, especially with the paneling and the text, closer to what it would look like if we were going to, I wouldn't say go live, but right, if you're going to present this either through your website, if you're going to post it online, right, you try to get it as close to how the final thing would look like. Right now, only the drawings are very unrefined, but we'll get there in time. So this is page 1. And page 1 is continuing from chapter 3 to chapter 4. This is the start of chapter 4. We try to have an establishing shot. This is the very first thing. So we have the sea and a pillar that's just sticking out of the ocean. A wave comes through and washes our lead, Beautiful Beast Kiss, who I'll just call BBK from here on, washes BBK onto this pillar sticking out of the ocean. She reaches, or she tries to get up, but realizes, oh crap, I can't breathe. And she starts gasping for air, and has to return back into the water, which leads to chapter on page 2, where now that she's in the water, she's like, what the heck was that? And then she starts to do a body check where she's looking at her body, and again, in every dimension she jumps to, she looks slightly different, and her body will change. Like her body responded naturally to being in the ocean by having webbed hands and having gills on her neck. Her back wings turn into like penguin or dolphin fins, and her teeth are now really shark-like. And she goes, so let's see. The sun is above, right? This is text, and then we move to page 3. So from page 2, the sun is above is where we ended. And I'm not on the moon, which is where she wanted to go to at the end of chapter 3. My body is different. So this is another dimension. And she wonders, okay, so she didn't get to where she wanted to go, but now she's in the ocean. And now the cat's eye, allspark gem, starts to glow. And it usually glows around the presence of another allspark crystal. So it's like the infinity gems, and they can locate others of its own. And so she's like, oh ho, a new adventure begins. Right? And she's sinking deeper into the water, and then she hits the bottom and then springs forward, and tiger, shark, go. And that is pretty much as far as I have gotten with the process as I have it so far. So for today, page 4 and page 5, we shall clean this up a little bit. So on these pages, let's reintroduce our characters, right? In these pages, we are going to be DC and Moktun with an unknown figure, right? So these two characters, and in their altered form, Moktun doesn't really change from dimension to dimension. DC changes slightly, but they are going to be our co-leads in this adventure. So I still have no idea exactly what they're he's going to be slightly older looking. Moktun will pretty much remain the same. But in this page 4, I keep saying chapter, page 4, we're continuing with a new scene. So we're transitioning to a new scene. And we start with eyes opening. And I wrote text on my little brief. Do you want more, with, open eyes? And then we have this new figure presenting these two. Demon Cat is going to be here. Mockton is here. Do you want more tea and cucumber sandwiches? So they're kind of having brunch, right? These three characters are pretty much having brunch. Right? And that is the scene change. So we were with Beautiful Beast Kiss, wondering how she got there and whys. And now she has a new adventure to get their crystal. And this is the new scene that we have transitioned to. Unknown figure, Demon Cat, and Mockton. And there are page 4, page 5. We continue with that and offers tea to Demon Cat, who drinks some, and he's in training, right? He's a magical demon, twin-tailed demon cat, and he's trying to control his powers over water, because the moon and the sea have a link, and he's trying to control his powers. And so he tries to take a sip of tea and realizes that some of the seawater has gotten into his tea, and he goes, ugh. So, and then there, this mysterious figure laughs because he's trying to train him in controlling his water powers, while Mockton continues to eat sea cucumber sandwiches. Right. Okay, so now let's try to make this more like a comic page. So I have my comic template that I can turn on and off. I have my basic page that I brought in right from my brief. I adjusted it. I knocked it back, or in opacity, right? And now I drew on top with the pencil. But now let's make it look more like a page. So first off, I usually start with frame panels. Frame panels. Frame panels is U, is the hot shortcut key on the very far left. It is the, fourth from the bottom, fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth from the bottom, it says frame borders. Also, you can hit the U on your keyboard, hit it twice, go to create frames, which is the button next to the one that's lit. Make sure you're on, the color is black, rectangle frame, and let's see, let's take the pencils away. And let's turn off that. Oh. All right. So touch here, the innermost corner. It's trying to save. Okay. Innermost corner, and then take that down to the lower right corner. It'll snap to it, let go. And now you have one large panel with the border. The purple is the out of bounds, right? Purple is the border, or also called the gutters. So then I go to the cut frame border, divide border frame. And then let's bring our layers back and start separating this. So I usually start with horizontal gutters and then vertical gutters. So since his eyes closed on this mysterious figure, we'll go this way. I hold shift so it keeps it locked. right? So it doesn't spin. So let that go. There's the first one, second one, and then a large center. And I'm eyeballing this. Eyeball it. Okay. And then I do the vertical borders. And I only want one vertical. Well, actually, do I have no verticals? Okay. So that is our initial frames on this page 4. And now we can adjust it by hitting O, which is the operational button. Operation, which is the third button down. On the far left hand, the icons. Or you can just hit O, and the red, if we zoom in, all right, the borders are in black. The red means I can adjust them. And then I manually reshape my borders. But I think I just want this one like this. And as he opens his eyes, we get a little bit bigger in panel. And then this very large central one. And I think we want that to be the largest panel on this page. I could bring it all the way to the edges. And if I want to do that, I can just hit the little triangle and it'll bring the edge border all the way to the edge, to the But I think I'll take that and this one. The bottom one, I think I'm going to do bigger, but not as big as the very central one. Okay. So our establishing shot, this one, the one that'll have the best background, the most established drawing, will probably be this center one. Right. Actually, hold on. Let's go back to you. I forgot. Do you. And let's divide frame borders. Okay. So we want these little transitional panels. So I'm going to do this and this. So 2 more verticals. Okay. So now, O. All right, so we can have dark, a little bit lighter, and then we're into whatever it is that's going on here. And this is a great time to adjust my pencils. So lasso tool. And I think Command T, we can shift this. I'm just using the arrow keys to move it into place. Okay. Command D to deselect. I'll lasso this eye and get it within the border. So Command T for the transform. Use the arrow keys to move it. And I think I will enlarge this just a little bit. So we start on the eyes of an unknown figure, who we learn is this guy. Again, I don't exactly have character designs for these guys yet. Well, especially this one. I know pretty much what Moncton and DC look like. But this character, I'm thinking more a mer person, a merman sort of looking guy. Command D, select that. All right, but again, at this point, I'm just trying to get the characters in place. Nothing pretty. Command T. All right, we're not going for pretty drawings. We're trying to go for, can I understand what's going on? So we'll put in there. Hit return, and then Command D. And we'll lasso these guys. And we'll make them look like they're actually farther in the background. Command T. Hold shift if I want to lock. All right, lock their size. And move them. All right. So he's the largest thing, and then it goes back in space to these guys. All right. Save that and Command D to deselect. We'll do the same with this one. Very bottom. Command T. So in the beginning phases, there's a lot of drawing, redrawing, because we're not exactly sure where we're going. We have an idea, but we just don't know exactly. Command D, Command S to save. All right. And now let's do some text. All right, oh, and so for the borders also, I put that in this frames panels folder. I like to keep my stuff neat. So I know if I want the frames of the panels, where to go. If I want the text, I know where to go. So now let's go to the layer that is blank. Let's name it blank actually. Blank. And I think we had some scratch text. Yes, do you want more? So let's, for text, right, hit T, or it on the very far left, the icon looks like an A, but it's on the hotkeys, hit T twice. And this brings up the balloons. There's a rounded balloon, an ellipse balloon, curved balloon, balloon pin, and then the two balloon tails, which is balloon tail and thought balloon tail. Most often I use the ellipse balloon. So have that, and then open up that. Hit T again, and then touch within the word balloon. And now you can type, let's see, do you, and then want, ... And now to size the balloon, right? Because we want it to fit comfortably within the balloon. Now we can increase the size if we want, right? And to increase the size of the font, we would select the font, and then there's this little pencil icon underneath of the three icons. There's a pencil, there's an X, which means it'll cancel everything you've done, and the check mark, which means it is a go. It's good. So let's do the pencil one. And this little box comes up, and in the box, I have my size of the lettering to 8. But I can increase it if I want him to speak louder. Usually I don't go above 15. So around 14 if I wanted him shouting. But I'm going to go back to 8. I can close that. And click the check. Circle with the check. That's a yep. Now to adjust the balloon, it's O, operational, right? Again, it's that third button from the top on the far left-hand icons. And then I can adjust the size of the balloon, right? Because I don't want it swimming in it, and I don't want it too tight. You want it nice and comfortable with it. And so we'll put that a little bit here. And now, whenever you put text, right, it'll drop it into the frames panel folder. I don't know why, but I kind of like that it does that. But then I just take that text and I drop it into the text folder to keep all my text in one place. And now I touch into the blank layer again if I want to start a whole new speech balloon. If I want to connect speech balloons, I'd have them near, on the same layer. Right? I continue typing another balloon within or next to this balloon, and then connect them so that they're talking. So one thing is being said, but then also another thing is being said by the same character. But since I want it in 2 different panels, we want a totally new speech balloon. So T twice, T. Do you want more? Touch within the balloon. More. And he's just saying it matter-of-factly, so just a period. Oh, no. Command Z, I'm sorry. Oh, I don't even stop that. Stop it. Okay. So I select the text, and I do want to increase the size of this to, say, about a 10. Or maybe 11. Do you want more? Click the check. Close that out. O for the operational. Resize the balloon and get it into place. Do you want more? And I move this also within the text balloon just above what was last said. So I keep it in order from the top panels. The text would be below, right? And this would be panel 1, panel 2, 3, 4. Panel 5 is our main panel. Do you want more T and C cucumber sandwiches? So we'll go to the blank layer, hit T twice. I usually make the balloons larger than I need. Hit T again, which is the text. Touch within the balloon. Do you want more T and C cucumber Sandwiches. And that's a question. So we add a question mark. And he's saying it loud enough so they can hear him. So, and he has his back turned. So let's increase the size of this text to a 10. Let's do 11. We can close that out. Hit the check. And O for operation. Operational button. Resize the move that closer to the speaker. Actually, it could be between them because he's talking to them. And I think Mach 10's going to say more. Yes. Because he loves sea cucumber sandwiches. So no, he is a new speaker. I don't want it on. So put that text in the text file. And go back to blank. So Mach 10 says yes. So hit T twice, make a balloon, T again, touch within the balloon, and he says yes. Exclamation point. And we will increase the size of this text. So we're gonna go 14. So he has a very emphatic yes. Hit O again. Well, we can close that out. Hit O for operational. Right. And then DC is going to have a few words for Mach 10. So let's say, right, when I don't have Mach text inside or what is drawn, you got to play with it. You got to make it up as you go. And sometimes anything can change, right? Anything can change at this stage. We could, maybe you don't want a certain text. Maybe you want to change the drawing, and the drawing changes. Then maybe the text might change. It's all situational. Let's say, right, DC is kind of like Mach 10's older brother, and so he's, let's not take advantage of our guest. Let's not be bad guests. Okay. So T for T twice. Have a balloon that says Mach 10. Mach 10. Dot dot. Right, and this is going to be our continuation speech bubble. Hit O for the operational. Adjust it. Mach 10. Let's say he says, Mach 10, we are guests. Or something to that effect. So now that I'm on the same layer as what was said Mach 10, right? And then I make a new speech balloon, hit T again, touch within the balloon. Now there's a box connecting the two. So that means these two balloons are on the same layer. And I'll show you what I can do with that. So Mach 10, let's not be bad guests. How about that? Let's not be bad guests. Now for text, I like to have it so that the middle text line is longer than the top and the bottom, right? Because the word balloon is an oval shape. I try to keep things let's not be bad guess, right? Right, that fits better within the word balloon. So hit the check mark and O for operation, but it selects both of them. And if I change, right, it'll change both the word balloons, and I don't want that. I don't want that. So Command Z, bring that back to its original form. Now, when you have the O selected, touch the circle that you want to alter. So I touch the second one, and now with this red line around it, now I can adjust it, and it's just this second balloon. So again, we don't want it swimming in it, and we don't want it too tight. We want it just right. It's the Goldilocks zone. Okay, so that is that. Now, hit T twice again. And this time we're going to do tails. Balloon tails, touch that. And now we'll make the tails going towards the mouths of the speaker. So let's say we don't need really tails for the first two, because it's just the panel with eyes. But say this third or fifth panel, we're not counting the first two. But yes, this fifth panel, we want this T and C cucumber sandwiches will touch within the balloon. I say between the text and the balloon edge, touch between that. And now touch just a little bit outside of the balloon, and then curve the tail towards the speaker's mouth. Double tap, and then, oops, did it too much. Double tap. Now I can Command Z to get rid of that. So yes, speaker with the balloon moving towards the speaker's mouth. In polite, casual conversation, I like to have a curved balloon tail. Because this is emphatic yes, I want a more direct and pointed tail. So between the text and the speaker, I want it double tap. And so it's a straight, direct yes. Right? So his manner of speak is casual, and this is an emphatic yes. Okay, so Mach-Ton will touch between the word and the balloon, touch just outside of it, and then we're going to connect it to this balloon. I don't like that. Let's try that again. Between, just outside, just before the second balloon, within the second balloon, double tap. I keep doing it. Stop that. Okay. Don't like the look of that. Don't like the look of that. So we're going to put the balloons slightly closer together. So O, touch the second balloon. We're going to move this slightly. And we're going to move Mach-Ton balloon also slightly up and closer. Okay. T twice. We're on balloon tails. Now let's try it. Let's do one between, and then the second balloon. And then we'll go from the balloon to the speaker. Now, do I want a, let's not make it so pointed. So touch just outside and then towards the speaker's mouth. Double tap. So we're saying Moncton, let's not be bad guests. And let's say the speaker, the host, says something else. So first let's take this text and move it into the text folder. And let's say the host says, what should he say? There's plenty more where that came from, or there's plenty more. Have no fear, there's plenty more. You don't want to, you always have, there's this fine line between saying too much. So I try to figure out how to strike that balance where he's not like a huge balloon where he's just, feel free. Or no worries, but that sounds a little too never fear, there's more. Never fear, have as much as you like. But let's see what's on page 5. This is why I like to have a page 5, so that sometimes there's a continuation between the last panel of the previous page and the first panel. Okay, so these two aren't related. So going back to page 4. Let's just say he says, oh, there's plenty. So we go to the blank layer. That's how I always reset for new text. I always touch that blank layer. T twice. Well, I did T twice. The balloon, ellipse balloon. And T again. Touch inside the balloon. Oh, there's more. Never fear. There's plenty. So let's, all right. And again, it's that dance between having too much. That's pretty good. Never fear, there's plenty. Okay. And O for the operational tool. Adjust it. Never fear, there's plenty. Again, he's saying this fairly casually. He's fairly easygoing, fairly jovial. T twice. Go to the balloon tails. I usually do the balloon tails at the very end. It's just more. All right. So that is the basics of page 5. I can now get rid of the scratch page. Always save, so Command S. And that is a pretty good approximation of page 4 before we move on to page 5. All right. So page 5, we got frames and panels. Let's do the frames. So we go to frames with the U. Hit U twice, go to create frames. Make sure it's black, unless you wanted a different color, right? You can have different panel colors if one so desires. Let's Get that upper left corner, drag all the way down. It'll snap into place in the lower right. Now you have the one large panel. You go to cut frame borders, divide frame, and hold shift if you want straight lines. For my horizontals first. Horizontals first. Horizontals. And then my verticals. So one long, two long. And this one is divided in the middle. And what I like about the comic page template, right, there's all these little dividers on the edges in blue line. And sometimes I like to follow those to figure out where's the center of the page. It doesn't have to be exact, but I like to know where some of those are. So that is the page. O for operation. And we can adjust the panels. So wide open on the first one, maybe a little tighter on the second as he sips, and then reaction shot, and then maybe this one, it goes back, a larger panel at the very right, open. So maybe something like that. Again, it's all on feel. You know, it's all on feel. And collapse that down. Put the frame within the frame file. That text file. Now the blank or the layer that has nothing on it, we'll name it blank. Blank. And now we can start text. Not exactly sure what is going to be said here. I do know that there's a reaction shot. There's a blech that some seawater got into his tea. So more tea, and maybe a yes please. And then maybe the unknown speaker, well, this new guy says your training is going well. And then maybe a not, well, maybe he'll just reaction, and then maybe not as well as I would hope. And then the speaker laughs, or the unknown figure laughs. So maybe something like that. So T twice, ellipse balloon, more T, more question, check, O for operation, more T, and move that into the text folder, go to the blank, T twice, second speaker, well, demon cat, touch within the balloon, yes please, yes, yes please, hit the check, O, adjust it, yes please, your training is going very well. We'll put this text within the text folder, T twice. Oh, we didn't hit the blank. Command Z, go to the blank layer. No, we don't want that. Okay, so now let's try that again. T again, balloon, text inside, your very well DC. Now in my mind, he has a name, but he's like the boy with no name. So whenever they would say, people who know his name, say his name, it would be like either blurred out or that word would just like glitch out and you couldn't hear it. But we'll leave it DC. Check. O for operation. Adjust it. And then he just put that in the text blank. And so there's a reaction shot here in the middle, T twice, word balloon, the text, there, with an exclamation point. And he's a fairly mellow, subdued person, so he doesn't, even his emphatic moments are fairly low key. So I'm not going to increase the text on that. Check. O for operation. And about that. And then for the last, I'll go, my training's not well enough. So blank. And, okay. Not well enough, it seems. Not well. Not well enough. I think not well enough is not well enough. And O for operation, adjust this. Not well enough. And to the text. And then laughter from this figure, blank, T twice. One more ha. And we'll increase the size of this to make it emphatic laughter. Yeah. Oh, maybe one more. So 13. That's enough of that. And check. O for operation, and size that. I still think it's a little bit high, so I touch inside for the text and nudge it with the arrows downward just a little bit. Make it just a little bit more symmetrical. Okay. And that is, we'll drop this into the text. That is the text. Double tap the T button, and balloon tails. So we have this guy talking. And then DC says, yes, so that's more T, yes please. All right. And just by tapping inside of the balloon, it'll automatically go to the balloon, which is very good. So touch within the balloon, just outside, towards the speaker. And then this is going to be a pointed arrow because it's there. Nope. Command Z. Not well enough. Again, he's speaking rather directly about his own failings and laughter, of course. Oh, did it again. Sometimes I do a triple tap, which starts a new tail. Command Z. All right. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Wasn't checking the time. Okay, so that is my process for comics. And that is pretty much 1 through 5 and how we got here. And all I do now is just build up, well, I try to go through the whole process. So I do this for all of the pages, 1 through 25, right? All about at the same level of sketchy, loose drawings, scratch text. And then once I have that, then I start again from the beginning, and then we go through it again. Right, all from front to back. And we just keep iterating and iterating and iterating. I'm trying to save at this point. Command S. But yeah, this is how my process is. Now everybody's different. Everybody has a different different process. Some people like different things. They like to, maybe have they start on the first page, get the first page as well as they can before moving on to the second page. But I like to do it my way, so that is my process pretty much at the moment, or what have built up as my process for making comics. Okay, so let's talk about we are now going to start the summer schedule. Summer schedule is, I'm pretty much going to, people will be coming into town. My brother and his family will probably be over, so I'll see my niece, and life is going to be lifing for until, let's say, September. September is usually when I start back to work. I'll probably be back before then because my niece, I think, goes back to school mid-August. So, and that usually settles things down and I start to get back into productive mode. But for July and August, more or less, it's going to be rather different. There won't be as many posts, let's just say that. There won't be as many posts. I'll be around and I'll try to do these live streams as I can, whenever I can. They might be on Thursdays, they might be on Tuesdays, they might be all over the place. I don't know. I'll also try to have some some shorter videos in between, like, but I'm still trying to figure that out. But yeah, let's say the schedule is going to be every other week, and then sometimes it'll be erratic on Tuesdays, Thursdays, or just whenever. So we're just going to be erratic. That's just how I'm going to frame it. And I hope you also have the chance to get outside, go on vacation, see your family, have barbecues, see your friends if they come into town, or go out to see the world. Have fun. Life only comes around once, and we shouldn't all be at computers all the time. That was just my little have fun, basically. And make sure to have a really good steak on the grill. That's all. My life is. I'm a simple man. All I need is some donuts and a good steak. That's pretty much it. Uh, so anyways, I have been Trey Hodges. Thank you for joining me. Power to all the creators. Take care, keep shining, and I will see you on either my next live stream or next video. But for now, we are on summer schedule. Thank you for joining me. Take care. Bye-bye.